Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Geeked Out. My name is Kyle,
My name's Juan.
and today we're talking about Spider-Man 2. Now, if first off, I'm going to say if you guys are hearing us giggle and chuckle, we just basically recorded the first 5-6 minutes of this already. However, I must have forgotten to hit the record button, so this is our take two of this. So just kind of bear with us. We're going to be repeating what we've already said, so there might be some more reactions from our ends. Just a heads up. But
Yeah.
this film was first released on June 30th of 2004. It stars Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, J.K. Simmons, and Alfred Molina. The screenplay was written by Alvin Sargent, which is obvious, and it's obviously based on characters created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. And the film was directed by Sam Raimi. It currently has a 7.5 out of 10 score on IMDb with a 93% critic score and an 82% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. The budget for this movie was listed as an estimated $200 million. I guess they didn't give the exact amounts, but that's okay. And the box office gross was almost $789 million. So they made some money on this movie. Um, Now
Made
I'm
a
going to ask you. Sorry, go ahead.
couple dollars.
Yeah, just a few. Just they line their pocketbooks a little bit. Um,
Um, yeah.
so I'm going to ask you. Now we had said before, we had said last week you had seen the first film in theaters, and I know how big of a Spider-Man fan you are. So I've got to assume you saw this one in theaters as well.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've seen this a couple times in theaters. Um, but definitely it was a day one for me for sure. Absolutely. Not only because it's Spider-Man, one of my favorite characters, because it's just really into, especially then, into superheroes, and I was collecting comic books at the time, so I was knee deep into the superhero world, both Marvel and DC. Um, this was the first movie I definitely remember I was super geeked for, to the point where I was on geek websites, following all the latest info about the movie and just being excited about all the information and a lot of fan theories when the posters came out. It was yeah, it was a really exciting time. And I still do that to this day. I'm still into the whole superhero, need to know all the latest information. And I still use uh one of the same sites I used back then, which is going strong for 20 years.
Well, my source for superhero movie information is usually you because I get so busy in that I completely forget a lot of times to check those types of sites, and so a lot of times my news would come from when it would pop up on Facebook and I'd read the articles, but I'll get text messages and that from you long before it ever shows up on my Facebook.
Oh yeah.
So I appreciate that. Yeah, I also saw this movie in theaters. Back in 2004. It's weird. I saw it. I vividly remember seeing this in a double feature with Men in Black 2, but I just looked up Men in Black 2 and it came out 2 years earlier. So I don't know why they had that promotion. I will say it was really cool to see a double feature
That is a
considering
hell.
that's
That's a hell of
pardon.
a.
Oh
I said
yeah,
that's
it was
a feat.
a really good one, but it was like I say I don't know why they did it that way. But it was really cool to see an actual double feature because that's not something that they do nowadays or even did really back then. Um, but yeah, I loved this movie from the moment I saw it. The addition with to Alfred Molina as Dr. Otto Octavius, I thought was really good. I didn't like what they did with the character towards the end of the film, but we'll get to that when we get there. But I've always loved this movie, and I'm constantly flip-flopping whether or not I actually prefer this to the first one. It kind of depends for me on my mood and things like that. Some days I do, some days I don't. So,
Hmm.
but
Well, for me, it's always I have to put the origin movie first, only because there wouldn't be a sequel. Like the sequel only gets enhanced because of the first one. So I would put the first one above it. But there are scenes in Spider-Man 2 that are definitely superior to a lot of the scenes in the first movie,
yeah, I agree with that.
you know?
Yeah. So I mean, so we got a bit of the basic summary here is so this film picks up roughly 2 years after the conclusion of the first film, and it's basically centering on Peter trying to find that balance between being Spider-Man and trying to lead a normal life, and that's not really working because his normal life is suffering considerably because he is constantly choosing his responsibilities as Spider-Man. And this film also sees yet another, probably one of his top iconic villains brought to life in Dr. Otto Octavius, who becomes Doc Ock, Dr. Octopus, played by Alfred Molina. He is attempting to build a fusion machine that will provide unlimited energy, and when things go wrong, these four arms that are, I guess, pinned into his spinal cord
Mhm.
end up being there permanently and kind of taking over. And when the machine fails, it causes him to basically become obsessed with trying again, no matter what the cost. And that's kind of the summary of the movie in a nutshell. Um, what did you think about when you were watching it during this rewatch? Did anything new stick out at you that you kind of forgot, or
No, I this is one of the movies that I'd probably watch every other year. And I've
okay?
seen it so many times to where like I can probably put it in, just imagine in my head the entire movie.
Just close your eyes and press play, basically.
Like, the only for me these movies, the Sam Raimi trilogy, is a little enhanced for me, and I'd have to sit down and really analyze my feelings towards the Tom Holland version, because there are pros to that version of Spider-Man, but the cons with those movies,
There's a lot of them.
there's a lot of them.
Well, I
And
shouldn't. I shouldn't say that. There's
but
cons to those movies to people who are Spider-Man fans first.
yeah, there's a lot of considerable cons.
Yeah, because if
The
you came to
movies, but seeing Sam Raimi's versions and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, it made me appreciate it more because we have the Tom Holland. Even though I do like those movies, their version and their approach is fine, but I just enjoyed just a little bit more this um how Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire approach this world and the character of Spider-Man.
yeah, I agree. And like I said, um, a lot of people now. I know both you and I are big fans of Spider-Man, both the comics, the cartoons, all that stuff. Um, I know that a lot of people who are fans like that of Spider-Man first have a lot of issues with the Tom Holland movies, and I'm just like everybody else. I do as well. I do really enjoy those movies. The one thing that I like about those movies that I miss with this trilogy and even the Andrew Garfield ones is the quippiness that he has during the fight scenes and things like that, because Spider-Man has always done that. Like, he always is kind of running his mouth during the altercations and during the fights and the battles and things like that. Whereas trilogy as well as the Andrew Garfield ones don't really focus on that too much. It's not a big issue, a big like anything that I have a huge problem with, but it is something that it's noticeable when you're a fan and you recognize that type of stuff from the comics or the shows like the.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, I think these films, as much as I don't like the third one, I think this trilogy is vastly superior to the MCU version of Spider-Man.
For sure. And yeah, Spider-Man 2, amongst the zeitgeist, is probably still up there as one of the better. It was the best superhero movie for the longest time. And it's probably still definitely top 5.
See, that was that was the big debate when these movies came out. It was which one was better, the Spider-Man 2 or X-Men 2?
Ooh,
I remember that was a big debate when this movie came out.
I have no idea, man. Don't do that to me.
I know what I mean, I personally side with X-Men because I'm always an X-Men fan first when it comes to Marvel.
Fucking blindsided me with that one. I wouldn't know what to I have such love for both of those movies.
I know I like the only reason I know an answer right off the bat is because I've heard this argument so many times, so I've had time to kind of think about it. But
I couldn't even argue.
Pardon me?
I said I couldn't even argue because as soon as I talk about one, I'm gonna be like, okay, and then as soon as I talk about the other, I'm like, okay.
Then they both shit the bed with the third one.
I'll never come to a decision because as soon as my focus is on one, I'll start to hype it up and like it, and then my focus will go to the other. Like I'll never be able to decide.
Yeah, and like I say, I personally go with X-Men because that was my like growing up. My go-to was Batman for DC and X-Men for Marvel, 100%. So those will always be at the top tier for me. But I can understand how it would be the opposite for some people, and I get that. And everybody obviously has a right to their own opinion.
You want to make that decision harder?
Okay.
Throw in Blade 2.
Moving on. No.
Right? All three of
those are
fire. But yeah,
that's tough.
That'd be tough.
But again, I think for me, Blade would drop to the bottom only because I didn't really read the like, if I'm talking about see, for me, automatically it comes to how excited I was when I saw these characters on screen. And I never really read Blade comics. So, like, when I saw those movies, it was like, yeah, these are great movies, they're fantastic, but I'm still going to put Spider-Man and X-Men above it because I have a previous relationship with all of these characters.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I've always stood with this stuff, and I think that's the main reason why Tom Holland's Spider-Man is the big fan favorite with so many people in the MCU, is because all of the other characters, most fans, even big comic book fans, didn't have much of a relationship with before because the Iron Mans and the Thors and the Captain Americas were all looked at as lesser tiered heroes behind the X-Men and Spider-Man and things like that. But because Marvel didn't have the rights to them, they couldn't add them in the big movies originally. So I think that's why the Tom Holland Spider-Man is such a massive fan favorite.
Plus, it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man is it, if you want to get down to statistics, is the most popular hero out of all of them combined.
Oh, he's the most popular and he's the most recognizable. I would say that Spider-Man is probably the most recognizable character, and Batman is the most recognizable logo.
Well, also Superman, because he's been around. They've
both been around for years.
Batman, Superman,
forever.
Yeah, only because they've been around since the late 30s.
Yeah,
Spider-Man's like what, 62?
yeah, I believe it was 62 or 63.
So they had almost 30-year head start. But yeah, no, I honestly think it didn't really matter the actor you put into the Spider-Man role at the MCU. That actor would have gained just as much as popularity as Tom Holland.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Spider-Man is that popular of a character.
I will say it was funny when I was watching this movie. I forgot some of it because it's been a few years since I watched it. But when the movie opens up and it's uh, Peter's basically working as a pizza delivery boy, I kind of had to chuckle to myself because when he gets to the restaurant, the guy's like, "Oh, I have my 29-minute delivery." I just kind of chuckled because I was like, there are a few things that feel as early 2000s as like that 30-minute or less or the pizza's free type thing that so many places had advertised.
But no place in New York would advertise that
No, there's no way.
because that's
It
impossible.
it would have to be like it's 29 minutes or less, and then in the fine print would be like if you live in a 5 block radius.
Because he was instantly caught in traffic.
Well, because what did he? I think he said something like you have to go 47 blocks in 9 minutes or whatever. It's like I've never personally been to New York, but I've seen what New York traffic looks like through like even on like news footage and things like that. Even with no traffic, how are you going 47 blocks in 9 minutes? In 29 minutes, how are you doing that in regular traffic?
Right? You have to be Spider-Man in order to get even close to on time. Yeah, shit
Yeah,
was
that whole
crazy.
scene to me was hilarious. And then you've got the guy on the balcony who he just comes in, he sees a stack of pizzas that are held together with bungee cords, and he somehow fishes a piece out of it, and then he fucking Spider-Man webs it back to himself. It's like, well, now you're gonna bring that, and somebody's gonna eat it. And it's gonna be covered in your fucking organic web. That ugh.
Right? It's all right. You won't taste it. You won't taste it. The pizza sauce will cover it. That's fine. It's all right.
Yeah, you won't taste it exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Plus, it's pizza. Who's gonna pass up some pizza, even if it's got a little bit of webbing on it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess pizza's pizza.
New York pizza.
You come, you get
That
further.
shit looked good though. When
Pardon
he
me.
snatched out that motherfucking guy's hand, that shit looked good. You know his mouth was salivating after that. He's like, "Damn, I gotta get some pizza." He immediately went to get some pizza after that.
Dude, I wanted pizza.
Yeah,
I mean, not that it's very difficult usually, like being the way that I am. I say I watch a movie and a guy's eating like anything. He could be eating a burger, and I'm like, oh, I could go for that right now. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't know why I'm like that. It's just I always have been.
because they make food.
They make you
Dope.
look so good.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They know
Um,
what they.
and I like that. I like that you go after this and you see how hard of a time he's having, and you immediately go into like he gets fired from one job, and it transitions to him basically getting fired from the Daily Bugle because J. Jonah Jameson is looking at his portfolio and he's like, "These are artsy pictures. They're shit. I don't want this crap."
Yeah, he can't smear Spider-Man's name with these photos.
Well, and it's funny because they're legit like artistic, like black and white photography, and he's like, "This is fucking terrible." Like I run basically like I run a tabloid. What are you doing?
I can't. Wait a minute. Did Spider-Man just pose? Wait a minute. I got I got questions. That's what Jada Jones sort of
I I will
said.
say this scene has my favorite quote of his in any of the movies, and it's when Betty puts on the intercom and she says, "Your wife says she lost the checkbook," and he immediately just goes, "Thanks for the good news."
Yeah.
I don't know why that has always been my favorite quote of his.
says it with such glee, and
Oh,
you
with
know,
the big smile on his face and the cigar. Oh yeah.
yeah. Well, he just, he killed that line delivery, just like he killed the role, man.
Well,
Legendary.
I was gonna say if I didn't gush about him enough last week, he is just so perfect as this role. It's iconic and it cannot, in my mind, if they ever recast this role with anybody else, it will be like it will be blasphemy basically.
I mean, it's gonna be. He's got a very big shoes to fill. Is all I'll say to whomever takes that role.
Yeah, and I do like how we get introduced to Dr. Kurt Connors.
Yeah, that little tease, that little ball tease. This movie is
I,
full of. This movie is full of those little ball tickles.
oh yeah, there are so many Easter eggs in this movie of where most people would just be like, "Oh, it's a professor," but then you've got the super nerds going, "Hey, hey, do you know who he becomes?"
Oh yeah, there's another one too. And there's a couple like quick little side storylines that are also involved in certain aspects of Spider-Man, but we'll touch on that when we get there.
Yeah, I will say though, I still think there's more chemistry between Peter and Betty Brant than there is with Peter and MJ.
Yeah, because who's the actress?
Elizabeth Banks.
She's a better actress.
Yeah, that's a big part of it too. And I will say, I know I came down a little bit hard last week on Tobey Maguire. This movie, I think he
Yeah.
does leaps
Yeah.
and bounds better.
Because you can believe that okay, this is a college student who's struggling
Yeah,
balancing his life between doing the right thing as Spider-Man and saving lives and his school and relationships. It's believable way more than the first one because he had to pretend to be a high school student, which he didn't look like that at all. He looked like a
no.
college student in high school.
Well,
So
and that's the
this
thing.
it's totally believable, and I do enjoy seeing Tobey Maguire's acting performances as Peter in this movie. It's really good.
I mean, to me, the one who, even right from the first scene that he's in, to me, the guy that really knocks it out of the park in this movie is James Franco.
Ugh, are you serious?
I do. I think he plays that. I think he plays Harry so good in this movie, right from the first, because he's so smarmy.
It's like, okay, I can. His acting is fine, but like the things they had him do in this movie is kind of like,
But that's
oh,
not on him. That's the director.
yeah, I know, and y- yeah, yeah, it is the director. I just had problems with James Franco in this movie, but it's not really his acting. It's just his character and the direction that the director took him in.
Yeah. No, I think. And I mean, like you say, they look so much. They look much older than a typical college freshman would look, or a college. No, they'd probably be, what, a sophomore at this point. But at least they look believable. They can still look like you say, as an adult. Whereas in the first movie, as quote unquote high school kids, there's no way.
And it takes
So
you of it a little bit, you
yeah,
know.
so I think you're right. That does help with a big aspect of this movie.
Absolutely. You're allowed to go with it and enjoy the movie without you questioning like the age of this person.
Yeah, and I think going back to the point I was making about James Franco, I think the reason that I enjoy him in this movie so much more is because even when Peter first comes in and sees him at his aunt's house, it's like when they have his like impromptu birthday party thing. he's dressed in the all black, and he's just, as soon as it's just him and Peter, he just a switch flips and he's instantly menacing. Like you can see and feel that anger, that hatred when he's asking like, "Oh, you still taking pictures of your friend?" Like, and he's just, you can feel that hatred when he's talking about Spider-Man. Because you remember, he thinks Spider-Man killed his father, which that to me is one of the bigger plot holes in this series, is that all he has to do is just say, "No, it wasn't me." Like,
That's one of the problems I have with this. Yeah, with this whole trilogy is how they handled that situation. As
that
like
Peter just keeps his mouth shut
you
all the
could
time.
have, right? You could be. All you had to do is be honest with him, Peter. Just be honest with him.
Well, and the fact
And
that it's his best
could have
friend.
solved so many. There wouldn't have been a whole turn in the third movie.
Yeah, it's like it's his. It could have been. He probably could have been honest to a stranger, and it would have been okay. This is his best friend. All he had to do in that entire scene is put the body, take the mask off, and explain your dad was the Green Goblin. But then they would get around that by being like, oh no, he promised Norman that he wouldn't. Fuck that promise.
He was a bad guy. He was trying to kill you.
You tried to kill me. No, I'm going to tell your son what kind of a piece of shit you were, and we're
All
going to go from there. Not let our friendship go down the drain because you're a prick.
right. I mean, it just could have been written so much better.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
always felt that was kind of an afterthought, and then when they got to the second movie, they're like, well, now we need to do something with it.
Yeah, and it felt so like daytime soap opera-y because it when it so
No, that's the third movie when he gets, spoiler alerts, amnesia.
true, but this was the start of it all. Like it could just be the unrealisticness of it. You just could have just pulled him aside
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
any point and just tell him. Just tell him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there are so many points where he could have just been like, hey, so remember what happened with your dad?
right? And the fact that, you know, Harry seems like he has like such hatred with Spider-Man. Did he not do any research? He knows that Spider-Man saves lives and puts criminals in jail.
Does he though? Because all the publicity, even in the scene where they're at his aunt's house, his aunt says something along the lines of like, the less you hear about that man, the better, referring to Spider-Man. So it seems like J. Jonah's campaign against Spider-Man, or to get everyone to hate him, is working. Because even someone like as good-hearted as his aunt thinks that Spider-Man is bad.
Yeah, and okay, I would believe it. I would believe it. Only that Harry isn't so obsessive that he's trying to do as much research on him as he can. More so that he's just believing what the media outlets are saying, and he's trying to find a way to act revenge on Spider-Man
Yeah, that makes sense.
instead of gaining as much intel as he could. Okay, yeah.
The one
That lens I can see it, yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I dislike about this movie, it's a through line throughout the whole movie, is the joke about he can't pay his rent and his
Rent.
that it's
Rent.
it's fine. It's a fine gag to do once, but they do it like 4 or 5 times to a point where at one point he's like running down the stairs and the guy comes out of the bathroom with his pants around his ankles, screaming after his rent, and it's like
They overcooked the bit a little bit. They should have pulled back. I enjoyed it,
I
but I
enjoy it, like I said, for the one or
yeah,
two
it
times, but
was
they just kept
yeah,
going back.
they overbaked. They definitely overbaked that bit a little bit. But I did enjoy it for it being so overused and burnt.
Yeah. And I love that the whole the whole conflict of the first part of the movie is Peter trying to make it to a fucking play that apparently within 2 years, Mary Jane has gone from being laughed out of auditions to like this fucking Broadway star.
I don't know how. Did she get bitten by a radioactive
Actress?
talent? A radioactive Meryl Streep?
Yeah, because I mean, if her acting in on the play or in the play is like her acting in the movie, she wouldn't be off Broadway.
Even her acting in the play
Oh, her accent is atrocious.
is like bland as fuck. Like,
Now,
dude,
I will say Kirsten Dunst
emotional.
now is a pretty good actress. Back in 02 and 04, not so much.
No, if she wasn't bringing it, it wasn't the best performance for her. But I did like her in. There's a few. She's got a few good movies where she acted her ass off. Definitely Interview with the Vampires is her.
I was gonna say that was the weird thing is she was a fantastic actress when she was like 9 years old in Interview with the Vampire,
Yeah, that's her. That's probably her best role, to be honest.
and then she comes to this, and she's now an adult, been acting since she was 9, and she can't put together a comic book character that all of your everything you would need to know about the character is written down for you. All you have to do is read and bring it to life. But I also think that a problem is Sam Raimi, and we talked about this last week too. Sam Raimi basically only used her to be a damsel in distress. He never gave that character any kind of depth or anything close to what she has in the comics.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is really sad for Spider-Man fans that have always loved that character.
All three movies, right? Even the third one, she was in Taint.
Yeah, all three of them. She's the damsel in distress. She's the one who's taken. Which don't get me wrong, it does happen in the comics, but not. It's not like every issue she's the one who has to be saved.
It's not really. But hey, they decided to do that in this trilogy, which is fine. Whatever. I mean, we see it now. I didn't really. Even though I knew, I didn't really think about it. But yeah, they kind of just made her a damsel. But
Yeah.
just her actions in this movie. Not only they made her just a damsel, it's like the movie, because you know that Mary Jane is supposed to be with Peter, but the fact that what she does to this other person she's supposed to
Oh,
be,
oh my God! It's
it
sociopathic.
when you look at it through his point of view, she's kind of an ass.
Well, there's a scene like again going back to the party after the party at his aunt's house. They're in the backyard because she's, I guess, visiting her mom next door or whatever. And she tells him like, "Oh, I'm seeing somebody," and then they're like face to face, like within inches, and she's basically saying like, "Are you sure we can't be together?" Like she's dangling this guy in front of him, like I've already got a new guy. Like, I've got a new guy. Don't worry about me. But at the same time, it's like, but if you change your mind, he could
Any
be.
point, I will leave this motherfucking guy.
Yeah, like he
Which,
could be yesterday's news if you want to be with me finally. Like
oh my
that's
god, bro! Like, good god.
yeah, I don't like the way they portrayed her that way in this movie at all. But I
Yeah,
will say is I do like that with her being on Broadway, we get. I prefer this Bruce Campbell cameo to the first movie. Personally, I like him as the usher. I kind of I find him very amusing. My favorite cameo of his is the third one, but I like him as the usher as Peter walks in and he's like, shoelace, tie, and then he's what do you want? Oh, I can't let you in.
yeah.
It's just the way he does it. I find it really amusing, and I always have. And I like Bruce Campbell a lot. So he's whenever he pops up in these movies, it's always a nice little treat.
Sure. No, it was humorous. It was a humorous scene.
Yeah, the whole thing with this performance of her when Peter can't make it because his bike literally gets run over because these criminals in a high-speed chase, whatever. And then he doesn't tell, like, he's late, so he can't get in. So obviously she notices that he's not there and she gets all upset and this and that. Later in the movie, when he's calling, like, he calls her to and leaves a message and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry I couldn't come," this and that. Just tell her you were in a car accident, because you were. Like,
Yeah,
I don't understand. Again, it's the same thing we were saying with him with Harry at the end of the first movie. Just fucking open your mouth and tell the truth.
exactly. It there's
I don't know why that's so difficult for him.
yeah. And it has those like daytime sitcom soap opera like vibes to it.
Yeah, where you have to kind of keep the problem going, because if you just say 5 words, it'll be done.
Exactly. Like there's no real logical explanation as to why you're not saying something that somebody definitely would say if they
Yeah.
weren't.
Like, I'm watching it. I remember because I don't think it really bothered me that much when I saw it when it first came out, but I'm watching it the other day. He calls and leaves a message, and I'm almost yelling at the screen. I'm like, "You got in a car accident." And if she's still pissed at you after you got in a car accident and couldn't make it on time, then you don't need to ever talk to this person again, because they're not worth your time.
Right? Unless because you're Spider-Man, you've used that excuse so many times, but show us
Yeah,
like
it shows him
that
dragging his bike
back in
home later.
conversation between you two. Like yeah, give us something.
Yeah, that whole thing drove me nuts. But again, like you say, it's just another issue of him not telling the truth.
Yeah. It's just issues with the writing in general.
Yeah. Well, another nitpick of that is it. This so when he's on his way to the play, it shows him leaving his apartment and going there. Now you got to think it's probably like what, a 20-minute drive, half-hour drive, whatever. And he can't navigate that half an hour without something happening where he has to become Spider-Man. And yet, the scene just before that, he's sitting chatting and having tea with Otto and his wife, and they say for like an hour and a half or 2 hours or something like that. Why are you able to sit there and just shoot the shit basically, but you can't go half an hour without something happening when it really matters to your life?
Because if you ever played the Spider-Man games, something always happens when you're swinging through the city.
Oh, it just drives me. I mean, just stuff like that drives me crazy.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah. It's it's um, definitely frustrating.
I do like when after this, when you get to the scene where you actually get to watch Otto make um, the fusion reaction. I don't even know what does he call it? Just his machine, his experiment, whatever it is. Now,
Might have. I just can't recall.
I don't. I will be honest. I cannot remember what Doc Ock's origin is in the comics. Do you remember what that is? Is it have to do with something similar to this, or is it just this is just completely done for the movie?
It's just done for the movie. I think he was just a mad scientist.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Mhm.
And if that's the case, I like that they used this to kind of make sense of why he would have an extra 4 robotic arms.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. The whole thing, like he is a good person, but the arms who have a mind of their own, but they're being controlled by the chip that's within the spine, but the chip gets broken, so now their will is
They
controlling,
control him.
which is whatever. I mean, that's a long way to go to explain it.
Yeah, because I don't remember him ever being like that in the comic or the show.
Oh, the arms are just. I know the arms
There.
assist him, much like why he was using them in the movie, but I just don't know to the extent. But that has nothing to do with it had no control chip or anything. He was always just a mad scientist.
Yeah, that's what I always thought.
Yeah.
That before you hold on, I completely forgot about one scene that I just glanced down at my notes for a second. Before that auto scene, when he is flying, swinging, and the first time he has what I have written in my notes as superhero erectile dysfunction. When he can't shoot his webs, why did they add this fucking elevator scene with I forget the comedian's name. It's
That
so
that
stupid.
one dude that was kind of famous at that time.
Oh my god, what the hell is Hal Sparks?
I don't even know, man.
What this scene is like 2 minutes long, and all it is they're standing there, and you write comments on the suit, and then you hear Peter say that it rides up at the crotch. It's like, why? Why is this in here? It adds nothing to the movie. Just cut it. Just take it right out.
There's
Because
not.
you're trying to be funny in a movie that you're trying to be funny in your serious superhero movie. Like this movie is not campy. It's not very campy. It's not. They try and keep it relatively serious, and then you just throw that. It's like it's from a different movie, and they just edited it in. Good lord.
the the humor isn't organic. It kind of was just like it just yanked you out of the scene and puts you in another comedic scene. It's like, wait, what the hell is this? And yeah, it's so jarring. You don't you're left like confused a little after the scene's over. You're like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I couldn't even tell you.
It was
Couldn't even.
really weird.
Maybe that guy wanted to be in a Spider-Man movie, and he had enough pull to stay in there without being edited out.
Yeah, it could be.
I have no
I don't.
idea.
I don't know. But I will say, so the next thing that we were talking about with the machine, I do think the arms look cool, and
Hell,
I did like that they showed like all those needles going into his spine and the whole thing of because that's how it would have to be controlled. It would have to be attached to him somehow, and I think that was a really interesting way to do it.
I think in the comics, it's not attached to his spine. It's more like a almost like a belt
Yeah, I thought it was almost like yeah, it
around
was
his
just
feet.
attached to him, like in
Yeah,
that way. I didn't
for
think it
sure.
was a part of him.
Not fused to him. It can be taken off.
Yeah, but I did
But
like this scene when with his precious tritium and the way it looks. I mean, it's literally he says the sun in the palm of my hands, whatever. But
power on palm of my
I
hand.
did like that. I really liked Alfred Molina as Octavius in this movie. The one thing that I've always kind of wondered about this scene is when the thing is going haywire and it's causing all the magnetism and it's pulling everything like that. Um, when it kills his wife, now she's killed by the glass.
Yes.
Why does the glass do what it does? Because theoretically, unless there's wind behind it, once those the window coverings, whatever you want to call them, like the actual steel around the windows, once that pulls away from the glass, theoretically that glass would just drop. Gravity would take over. It wouldn't pull it with it.
I'd have to rewatch. I would have to rewatch it.
Because that's kind of what it seems like, is that she's basically hit with a bunch of shards of glass and just killed.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see her fucking face through the reflection of the glass as it's coming towards her. But I don't get how how the shards started coming at her. I don't know how that like started. I'd have to rewatch.
Well, it's because
I know everything's like pulling, but yeah.
Well, all the windows are made of steel except for the panes of glass. So when all the steel is being pulled off the windows, the glass shatters, but for some reason the glass starts flying with the metal portions of the windows as if it's being attracted to it as well, when in reality it's just the metal. So I mean, I've never noticed this before. I never had an issue with it until I had this rewatch. I'm like, once that glass breaks away from the metal, wouldn't it just drop to the ground after a couple feet?
Perhaps.
But they have it flying like 30 feet across the room.
Yeah.
Again, that could just be me nitpicking, but it kind of just stuck out to me on this watch.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, a little nitpick, but
I do like the scene after this when he's in the hospital and they've got him on the table, and they're basically going to take just random machinery and cut these things off of him, and you get the
shit.
The what?
Didn't they have a chainsaw?
That's the Evil Dead callback.
And this scene here, I remember they played this scene during the Comic-Con that they had. Either 2004 or 2003, which one. And people were so hype after they saw the scene at Comic-Con. And I think I watched someone recorded it on their phone. So I got to see
I saw it ahead of time too, yeah.
Yeah, grainy footage of it. And yeah, man. This I don't know why Sam Raimi went so hard in this scene but it was super effective, man. This scene is legitimately terrifying.
Well, it's because Sam Raimi comes from a horror background.
Exactly. And only a director with a horror background would do a scene like this.
Yeah. Especially the way he did it.
And make it so effective and so terrifying. For no reason.
Because you've got the start where it's just like you just see the wires kind of shaking ever so slightly, and then all of a sudden it just ramps up and these things start killing people.
And fucking doctors are.
Well, and for me the effective one is when it's dragging the one woman away and she's with her nails in the. I'm like, oh fuck!
Just goes into the darkness. Yeah, that shit fucking terrifying.
And you watch it, it's like this is a fucking like a lot of people view comic book movies like these are kids movies, and you've got this shit going on. You've got like 10-year-old kids going to see this movie.
Like, oh, damn, Raimi, why did you go 11?
And yet I loved it even from the first time I saw it, right up until now. It's one of my favorite scenes of the movie.
It's one of the best scenes it's definitely one of the best scenes in the movie for sure. Yeah, I have no complaints for that scene, man. That was truly masterful.
Yeah, and then when he comes out of there, this is when he starts to realize that when his wife is dead and all this other stuff is just he's got to finish. He has no other recourse than to finish what he started.
But this is when you're like you start to realize like the arms are having more of an influence now, And Otto is kind of, because he found out all this news, that he kind of had an emotional breakdown, allowing the arms to influence him in such a way that he just allowed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. One of the things that really bugs me, and I've never thought of this before until I heard somebody bring it up. I don't remember where I heard this, but when he comes out. Now, first off, I will say I like, as much as I like the mirror scene with Willem Dafoe in the first movie, where it's him and the Goblin talking back and forth. I almost find it more effective in this, where you just have the arms looking at him, like next to his face, and he's responding to them as if he's hearing it in his head.
Okay.
If you remember what I'm talking about, I almost find that more effective. But what doesn't make sense to me is he's like, yeah, we have to redo the machine. And he's like, but we're going to need money in order to do it. And I've thought this, once I first heard this, I can't think of anything else with this scene is he then proceeds to go rob a bank to get money to buy supplies. Why not just steal the supplies? Like, he goes to take money, he goes to steal money, and then it's like, I'm gonna purchase these items legitimately with stolen money. Just go fucking steal the parts.
It's true. Just do that. I don't know. Maybe he just wanted to steal some money. I don't know. Maybe maybe it's on his bucket list to rob a bank, and he was like, you know what? This is my only opportunity. I'm a fucking
Yeah.
super villain.
And like I say, it's something I've never thought of before. And then as soon as somebody brought it up, I went, huh, that is a really good point.
Because there would be no scene with him in the bank.
Well, that's the thing.
Peter in the bank,
It's one of
dude.
those things where why does this happen? Because movie.
His reasons. God damn it.
Yeah. No, I completely get that. But the other is when he does break into the bank, he goes into the vault, and it's just bags of gold coins like it's the old west.
Right?
Number one, America, at least at the time, as far as I know, they didn't have coin currency except for like quarters, nickels, dimes. These things looked like giant doubloons almost.
For real. Like fucking, what is it, fucking bank from the 1800s and shit? Like, what the fuck? Like, why do you
So I
need
mean,
gold?
he's holding up a bank on horseback in the old west.
With those old, exactly. Yeah, no. I never thought of it. Yeah, it should have just been cash. But no, yeah, that gold coins.
Yeah, just
Accessory.
like blocks of cash, like you see in every other movie with a bank robbery.
Yeah. Well, my mind, because I'm Canadian, we're Canadian, I thought they were, my mind just goes to loonies, but no, they wouldn't be in New York.
No, there wouldn't be loonies or toonies in New York.
Yeah.
Because
No,
yeah,
if
they
they're
are gold.
hundred-
So it's not like they could even say they were quarters or anything like that.
no, they were sizable golden colored freaking coins. No way you could say those were anything other than
No, they were fucking
they
doubloons.
were
They were
they
pirate treasure.
I know maybe at the time, I know they were trying to have their own loony. Remember the states had it? They tried to do their own loony?
Yeah, they had. I don't think they were
Had that
calling
like
it that,
Native
but
American woman on it or something.
yeah, they did try. I don't know if they're still trying. I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to say yes or no 100% one way or the other.
Circulation, like they're still in circulation, but I don't know if they continued making them.
But yeah, I remember there was a time where they wanted to do like a $1 coin.
And they just had all of the supply in that bank at that time.
Well, I don't know because, like I said, those things look like fucking doubloons, like pirate treasure.
It did. Those giant ass gold coins. What are these? What are you fucking Mario? These are Mario sized fucking gold coins here. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, really. But I mean, I think the main reason is because movie, it's a better visual
Hell yeah.
when you see
It
the bag explode with coins as opposed to a bunch of dollar bills.
exactly. And they were used as projectile weapons. You can't really hurt somebody with a bag full of paper.
Oh, I don't know. I have a feeling a bag full of cash might hurt quite a bit. The coins are going to hurt a lot more, but I think
Exactly.
they would still hurt.
True. But coins were
Now, I
different.
want to ask you this: being a sizable Spider-Man fan as you are, I want to know what you thought about the Spider-Man No More storyline that this movie goes to during the second act.
Oh, the whole like another little ball tease.
Oh, just the shot in the alley. But I'll get to that in a minute.
Well, the fact that he was losing his powers, that was at least for the animated series, they they covered as well. But it
Yeah,
was because he was, it was he was going through a mutation, which
yeah,
I thought they again they kind of teased you with that in this movie,
yeah. This one they kind of just chalk it up to like it's a mental block or a mental issue.
which nah, it's not how it was. But the fact that he did that, like the whole quitting being Spider-Man, it was whatever. I don't think it was needed because what came of it, except a scene proving that he didn't need to be Spider-Man to be a hero, whatever. Um, I thought it was unnecessary and kind of a again a long approach to explain that Peter didn't need powers
Yeah,
in order to be a hero. So,
yeah. I will say the one part about it that I did like, and I'm sure this is not just me. I'm sure a lot of people feel this way. Is the alley shot with the one that's
oh
literally
yeah,
ripped from the comic with the suit in the trash can and him in the background walking away from it. I mean, that's one of the most iconic images from a comic book, especially a Spider-Man comic book.
that's when he first quits.
Yeah, and it's and it be and the because they had him say like in his little voiceover or his acid dream, whatever it is, when he's talking to his Uncle Ben, he says, I am Spider Man no more. And just hearing that and then seeing the shot in the alley, it kind of gives me chills a little bit. Just, I love when they do those callbacks or what people call the fan service moments.
Yeah,
And
that was definitely
there's a reason people like those because fans love seeing that stuff put in there just for them, especially gigantic nerds like us.
for sure. No, I that yeah, seeing that shot is definitely iconic.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think it was necessary at all for this movie to even touch base on that.
Well, then they use the whole thing again for him with MJ because he then goes up to MJ and he basically asks MJ to basically leave this guy because he's like, I don't have to do what I thought I did because I'm no longer going to be Spider-Man type thing. And she says, no, I can't do that. But then she starts hinting at it again later when they see each other about how they could be together and this and that. And then all of a sudden he gets his powers back and he's like, nope, can't do it anymore. I was stringing you along again. It's like, guys, fucking make up your mind with this whole storyline, please.
For sure. Like, come up with something better. Because this will they, won't they? We know they will.
Yeah, it's hard to do that, like you say, when you know that. I mean, the character's been around, like you say, what, since the early '60s, and in almost every iteration, he ends up at least with, if not marrying, Mary Jane. So it's like, you know they're going to end up together. Why are you doing this? It doesn't make any sense. It just seems like it's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's just an unnecessary way to inject drama where there doesn't really need to be.
And I think that's a lot of what it is. It's just that entertainment factor.
Yeah.
But I have the movie on in the background right now, and it's the bank fight. And this, I will say it, I love the way that Alfred Molina looks with the arms, and the arms walking him up the side of the building. It looks just like the comic book is pictures, but it looks just like the animated series with the way they have the arms move and walking up the walls and things like that. I think it looks super cool.
Oh yeah.
And it's amazing how much better the CGI looks 2 years later after the first one to what it does for this movie.
For sure. I know they blended a lot of practical effects with special effects,
Yeah.
especially with the arms. So that's why the arms still any scene involving them and moving holds up just because of that blend.
Which I think is a really cool thing that they did with that. Because those arms just look fucking badass.
Yeah, they're pretty intimidating.
I will say I do like that for the most part they look like they're one length, but when he really needs them to be, it's almost like they can extend themselves. Which I think is
Yes.
a really cool aspect of them.
Yeah, they that's the thing in the comics that he's able to extend and bring them down when needed.
Yeah, but again, for some reason I think this shows it a little bit better than what the cartoon did for that aspect, anyways. Because with with the show, they were what 25-minute episodes. They didn't have as much time to focus on the mechanics of the villains or things like that, the same way that a 2.5 hour movie does.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think it was really cool the way they showed that whole thing.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So I don't know. What did you think when they get to the whole train scene in this movie? I'm really curious to hear what you think of that. It's just another iteration of you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us, New Yorker things.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I think it was more organic given the situation. Um, it made sense in the first one only because the events that happened very closely to that movie. So it makes sense. But I don't think that would have happened realistically given that, situation. This one felt more organic in how the people would have treated Spider-Man in that scene. I think is the best scene in the movie for sure.
It's up there. I mean, I still put the hospital scene just for sheer entertainment quality for me.
I think for me it's the best because it gives off for me like Spider-Man comic book Saturday morning cartoon vibes.
To me there's a lot of Jesus vibes.
Well, yeah, towards the
the
end.
yeah, the end when he passes out and they're like passing him over top of everybody, and then they put him down, and he's not even, he's a kid, like, they because his mask is off, and The one guy's like, "Oh, he's not much older, or not much older than my son, or whatever it is." And it's like,
Something like that. Yeah. Very.
and then they all take like a silent vow, and it's like and then he wakes up, and they're all like, "No, we won't say anything. Your secret's safe." And you're telling me that I get that they're the people, the 50 people on that car or whatever, were just saved, but you're telling me that there's not one person on there who wouldn't sell that secret out for an obscene amount of money. Did you just let a fucking velociraptor loose?
Yeah, right. No, I just
I have a hard time believing that personally, but that's just,
I can believe that there would be.
I tend to see the worst in people, in humanity.
The likelihood is rather low, but I think yeah, it is possible because he did just save all these motherfucking people's lives.
Yeah, but
And
now they're like, well, I'm alive now, so let's just make some money off of it.
right? And you know, New York was still very much together still in 2004.
Oh yeah,
So
100%.
given that, I would say the likelihood is low, but
I still think there
I
would have
think
been
it's
at least
possible.
one
Given
person.
today, if that would happen today,
Oh, half
absolutely
half the
not.
people would do it.
Nobody would. Somebody would have said something about his identity for sure in today's world.
Yeah.
Like given 2004, yeah, sure, but not very likely.
I completely just, I don't know why I was so excited to get to that scene, but I completely skipped over the fact that you find out that Mary Jane is dating and then becomes engaged to Jonah's son, which, again, just yet another storyline that probably didn't need to be in this movie.
Which is very important to the comic, especially Spider-Man mythos, because this character, um, he
John.
he becomes a Marvel character called Werewolf by Night,
Yes, he does.
and also in the animated show, he goes into space and the Venom symbiote
So he's
attack.
the one who brings back Venom,
Yeah, in the animated.
which is why everybody got so excited when watching this movie. Because as soon as he was announced, it was like, oh, fuck, are we getting Venom?
Pretty much.
And then we did, and we all wanted to cry.
Yeah. I mean, there's a good reason why it's all the studios blame on that one.
That's another discussion for another time, unfortunately. And as much as I want to get into it, we'll have to save ourselves on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do. I did like, again, going back to that whole train scene. I did. There was one line that I wrote down when Peter's um, trying to stop the train, and it's not really working. There's a fucking old man there. I think he's the conductor, and all the windows are broken. So Peter's at the front of the train, and he just kind of leans out the window and he goes, "Yeah, any more bright ideas?" I'd be like, "Old man, I will fucking throw your ass off of this thing right now.
Oh
I am
yeah,
doing my best."
it's great. I don't need this.
I
I
don't
don't
need
need
the
your
commentary.
fucking sarcasm right now, you fucking asshole. I'm trying to save your life. But yeah.
And then, of
Yeah.
course, to get, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just freaking commenting on that old man.
Yeah, well, I like that. I like that he does get revealed because you get the scene now when Otto needs his, he keeps referring to it as precious tritium, which I don't even honestly know if it's a real element or whatever, or if it's completely made up for the movie, but it sounds cool. They at one point say there's only like 25 pounds of it on the entire planet, so you got to imagine how much this stuff fucking costs.
Right.
He goes and he tells Harry that he needs a bigger one, and he says, well, I'll give it to you if you can bring me Spider-Man. So that's really his reason for going after him. And I love that he's going after, when he goes after him, it's the scene with Harry and MJ at the coffee shop, which again, you could have cut out a lot of the preliminary part of that, but again, they keep wanting to do this will they, won't they nonsense. I do like the threat when he takes Mary Jane, and the threat is, I will peel the flesh from her bones. It's the way he delivers that line. Alfred Molina just knocks that out of the park. That's that whole scene.
Which was extra as fuck, man. Like, damn, all right, damn.
Oh yeah, it wasn't just I'll kill her. It was, and then it's when he says I'll peel the flesh, you get the one claw next to his head kind of like snaps a couple times.
Yeah.
I mean, now that I've seen it so many times, it makes me laugh because I actually think of Clamps from Futurama.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
When he does that, I'm gonna give him the clamps. But no, I did like that. And then you get when he finally does capture Peter and deliver him to Harry. I think that was a very interesting thing. But once again, he delivers him. Harry gives him his baseball size. Apparently, this is like an eighth of what's on the planet because this thing's probably a 2-3 pound thing.
Oh, yeah,
And because it's like the size of a baseball, and the first one was like literally the size of a pea. Like, why did you have to go so much bigger?
that's a lot of that stuff, bro. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, if it does, and well, they keep saying if the explosion is exponential to the size of the tritium, the fucking whole city's going to be gone.
Yo.
That's okay. We're going to figure this out. We want it to work.
Yeah.
But it's that whole movie and especially comic book thing where you just keep amping things up as you go along. The first one failed. The second one, you got to go bigger and better and more. What?
Is it called tritium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if it's a real element or if it's something they made up, but
I do not think so.
I don't think it's real either. But if anybody knows better than us, let us know.
Right up there with unatanium.
Oh, we got to do the core one day. So yeah, when he drops off, I'm talking like he's dropping somebody off for a slumber party. When he delivers Spider-Man to Harry, and Harry comes over with this fucking like 8-inch long dagger. Like I don't know I don't know what his father did in terms of collecting things, but some of the stuff he's got around that apartment is. But he pulls this dagger out and he takes the mask off and he sees that it's Peter and he just. Like, I mean, I couldn't even imagine going through that and finding out that the person that I thought or I think killed my father is my best friend. Like, he plays that scene very well, I thought. And,
I mean,
yeah, again, all Peter had to do was explain to him right then and there what happened. But
could
he
have
doesn't.
just sit there.
But he doesn't.
Say anything. He didn't say anything about that. It's like, bro, you like it's just so unrealistic.
Yeah.
Not say obvious things in obvious moments of time.
Yeah, he literally I don't think he says a word.
I don't think he did either.
I mean, like, I think he pleads with him, But
He didn't
when he
explain anything. He didn't say any like.
no, he first wakes up because I think what it is he first wakes up and he opens his eyes and he's like, "Oh, what a predicament I'm in." And then he
Yeah.
immediately he's like, "Where's MJ?" I'm like, "No, explain to your best friend that there's no reason for him to be pissed at you."
It would have took all but 1 minute to explain what your dad was doing and how he died. That's it. It would have took less than a minute.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me, but
Decided, nah, I'm not gonna do any of that. I'm not gonna say anything. Super strange.
yeah. And then you get another with her being. I noted this when I was watching this. It's people talk about the way Michael Bay was with Megan Fox and Transformers. I'm shocked that people don't talk about the way that Kirsten Dunst was portrayed in these movies. This is the second time in 2 movies in a row that she is on screen in an outfit that is soaking wet, and it is very clear she is not wearing a bra. And that is, I feel that is the only reason she is made to look like that. It's for that simple realization that, hey, guys, guess what we can see?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's.
I could be wrong, but it sure as shit looks like that when you watch the scene where she's tied up in the boathouse or whatever you want to call that area.
Yeah, when you you point it out, it becomes very noticeable.
Yeah. And again, it's something that I never really paid much attention to when I was younger because I'm just watching a superhero movie. Like, cool, whatever. He's fighting the bad guy, no big deal. But now, as like as an adult, and I'm like watching this with more of a critical eye, I'm like, how did no one think this was an issue? Like, I get there's movies that use things like that for like sex appeal and whatnot, but those are usually like raunchy comedies or like not something like this. I wouldn't think anyways, but clearly I'm incorrect on that because well, just watch these movies.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm going to get to something that I did not like about this movie. So like we said before, the way Otto Octavius is portrayed in the comic and the show, the animated show, is he's just kind of portrayed as a mad scientist. In this movie, they make him a very sympathetic villain in terms of that when he did this first experiment, the experiment the first time, he lost his wife and he's still grieving and this and that. And at the end of this movie, in order to shut down the reactor because it's now become self-sustaining, the only way to do it, I guess, is with water, which I don't know why that would
Drown.
I don't know why that would matter, but I guess he says you have to drown it in the river. And
Sure.
immediately he's like, no, I'll do it. It's my fault. It's my creation, this and that. And he sacrifices himself and has basically he has a Darth Vader turn where he becomes good again at the end. But I don't understand because the comic book Dr. Octopus would never do something like that.
No. Well, I mean, the way.
At least not the way it's done in the film.
No. Well, this movie, he wasn't a bad guy. It was the arms that were in complete control and influencing him. And there's a scene shortly before where he gets electrocuted, which I guess overwrote the control from the arms, and he kind of got control again or something like that. His influence, especially combined with Peter's speech, kind of pulled him back to his normal way of thinking, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay for a movie. I mean, because that's my other issue with a lot of these superhero movies is so many of them, their villains are just one and done, which I think can be a mistake, especially when you get to these big iconic villains like a Green Goblin or a Doctor Octopus. Like those are two of the big Spider-Man villains that everybody knows of, and to just basically kill them off in sequential movies, it's like, well, now where do we go? Like, whereas if you kept them around, you could have had them, even if it's a reappearance to assist a new villain type thing. Like I fought him before, I know what to do or I know how to beat him by learning from my own mistakes. But so many of these movies, it's like, no, we're just gonna have the villain do one movie, even though he's got 40 years worth of content in the IP. No, we're just going to kill him off. It's like, I really don't like that decision with a lot of these films.
Well, yeah, that was every superhero movie.
It still is. I mean, let's be honest.
They're starting to get better at it. They're not killing everyone off now, but it still happens a lot for sure.
Yeah, and it's something that I've always kind of took a negative stance towards, because I disagree with that, because you watch or you read so many of these comics or the old shows or things like that, and one of the big things with a lot of these superheroes is, and I know that in these Spider-Man movies he doesn't kill them, but there's a whole thing of a lot of them don't kill people.
Exactly.
And that's because they're moral. They're superheroes. Like, they're heroes. They don't want to kill people. But these movies are like, no, we're just going to move on to the next villain. Yeah, but they're hugely popular. They're this. Nope. Just keep going. And that's always been a big problem for me with these. I don't know if other people have that issue, but that's just where I come from with this whole thing. And then Mary Jane gets to find out that he's Spider-Man. Snore.
Right. Like she couldn't have pieced that together. Or at least have some type of clue or theory that he could possibly be Spider. Whatever.
Well, she says multiple times throughout this and the first movie that they are like best friends. Like, they've known each other for however many years. Even though in the first movie, the whole with all the Flash scenes, she looks like she doesn't know who he is.
Right? Or just like knows of him but barely knows him.
Yeah.
Or just doesn't notice him because would be unnoticeable at that time.
Yeah, exactly. But then this movie, she finally finds out, and he still says to her, like, we can't, even though now we can't be together because you'll always be in danger, yada, yada, yada. What did you think of their ending scene in this movie with her fucking running through Central Park in a goddamn wedding dress?
Oh, leaving that poor man at the altar.
Which led to another of my favorite J. Jonah lines when he...
Oh, yeah.
When he can tell that his son's being left at the altar, and he says to his wife, call the caterer and tell her not to open the caviar.
He's always trying to save some money, for sure.
I love his jokes of how he's so cheap. I think they hit so well.
Oh yeah, that's true to the character too. Yeah, she doesn't like. I guess you're supposed to be rooting for her, but how the fuck can I when I know she just ran out on a seems like a perfectly fine gentleman.
Yeah.
And
for a guy that she's been stringing along for how long?
Jesus Christ, woman. I can't. I'm not for this. I can't root for you. I can't root for you in this. I'm sorry. I do not like you in this movie, Mary Jane.
Hashtag Peter deserved better.
He deserved that. The landlord's daughter.
Oh, she's funny with the chocolate cake and milk.
Right? Motherfucker made him a cake. That shit looked delicious too.
Yeah, that girl made him a cake. Mary Jane can't make the time of day for him.
And fun fact about that scene when she's running through New York, if you're paying attention, you have an eagle eye, you'll be able to notice that Thomas Jane's Punisher is in the background.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Look it up.
What's he do? Just standing there?
He's standing there and he looks in the direction, so you see his face.
Is he in the Punisher outfit, or is he just regular like street clothes?
I think it's just straight clothes, but it would be like an outfit the Punisher would wear if he's not wearing his Punisher getup.
Okay, I'll definitely look out for that because I've never heard that before, so I've never kind of looked at it. That whole scene though. Sorry, what was that?
No, I said yes, sir. Definitely.
Well, that whole scene of her running through Central Park in a wedding dress, I don't know why, but it always has reminded me of like a late 90s, early 2000s music video.
It's fucking goofy. Was there a goofy ass smile as she was running?
Yeah.
A goofy ass run. Like, this is stupid. Goofy. This did not be needed. And I'm not rooting for you because I know what you just ran away from.
Yeah.
This shit up face.
I will say the only part of that whole sequence that I enjoy is when she finally gets to his apartment and she explains, like, I deserve to have a choice for myself if I want to be with you, if whether or not the danger or whatever. But when she says, go get him, Tiger, that's the only part of that sequence I like, because for anybody who knows the comics, that's an iconic thing that she calls Peter all the time. And I actually, years ago, there was a documentary about Stan Lee and his writings and things like that. And it's when Mary Jane and Peter first go on a date. I don't remember if it's a blind date or how it works.
It's when they first meet. It's when they first meet.
You're right.
It's because she's the neighbor's daughter.
You're right. And he opens the door
granddaughter. She's the neighbor's granddaughter or niece or something.
You're right.
And, her first line, introductory line is "Face it, Tiger."
You just hit the jackpot. And Stan Lee has said that is his favorite line he ever wrote. So for them to use some kind of a variation and have her call him Tiger in this scene, it brought a big smile to my face. But everything leading up to it, throw in the garbage.
just cut all that and have.
You could have just had her standing there in a wedding dress and been like, "Yeah, I changed my mind, so I want to be with you," and say the line, and let's cut to the next scene.
It would have been more effective because you could have had more time to like have them act instead of her fucking running through the goddamn streets with a stupid ass grin on her face.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, she's leaving a man heartbroken at the altar. Like, come on, man.
An American hero. This man is an astronaut who just came back from space.
Don't do that to this man. Don't you?
I really did like the scene though here at the end with Harry when he's in the apartment and he starts hearing the goblin laugh, and apparently his mental projection of his father knows what his dad was up to. I don't know how that worked, but when he sees his dad in the mirror, that whole scene, and then he gets upset and breaks the mirror, and behind it reveals all of the goblin paraphernalia, I guess.
Right? That was convenient as fuck. He decided.
Yeah, that was his lair, is right behind the mirror.
Mental breakdown. to where he's hallucinating and then have an hallucination of his father in a mirror that behind said mirror is all this villainy equipment, including the chemical to make him a true villain. It's like,
Oh,
Jesus
the
Christ.
super soldier, yeah.
Ugh. I was like, I remember at the time I was hyped. But
Oh, I mean, even rewatching it, I was like, this scene is really cool.
it's cool.
Knowing what happens later takes a little bit away from it, but if you can kind of shut that part of your brain off and just look at it for what it is and put yourself in the mindset you were when you first saw this movie, I think it's great.
Yeah. It was a good tease. It's a tease.
I looked at it as basically that. It's almost like the framework for what the MCU uses for their post credit scenes now.
Yeah. That probably would have been a post credit scene.
That's what I was thinking. This would have fit perfect if they would have aired half the credits or whatever and put this in.
Gives off those vibes.
Yeah, because it's like dropping hints for a sequel and what could possibly happen, and
Yeah.
but I mean, overall, I think this movie was done really well. As much as I seem to have bitched, but I mean, that's kind of what happens when you try to watch something with a more critical eye, is you find things that you didn't notice before.
Yeah. As many nitpicks I have, it didn't in any way take me out of it or lessen my overall enjoyment of the movie. Still
No,
enjoyed it.
I don't
Really.
think so either.
Yeah. I still think this is one of the best superhero movies ever made.
I agree. These first two Raimi Spider-Men and the first two X-Men, I really think provided a big blueprint as to how to do things the right way. And then Marvel took that and ran with it, and DC was like, no, we're going to do our own thing.
Yeah, too much.
But I don't really have much else to go on about this movie. I don't know if you've got other things you want to bring up or discuss.
Let's see.
Just flat out no.
No, I'm just going through my notes right now.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't say was pizza time.
Oh God.
Something I kind of still say to this day.
It's pizza time. I'm not paying for those. All right, then. See you later.
Okay.
Did you recognize who that woman was?
That's one of the freaking. That's what's her face. That's Bones.
That's Bones. That's
Oh.
I think it's Zoe Deschanel's sister.
Yeah.
Emily, I think, is maybe her name, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, she popped up. I was like, oh, I didn't even remember her being in here. I mean, it's not quite the cameo that Octavia Spencer was in the first movie, but I think it's funny seeing movies that are now, 20 years old, and you see people that are like, oh, they went on to have a pretty decent career, and they're like a 30-second to 2-minute type cameo role.
Yeah, it's always fun seeing those things.
Even seeing Elizabeth Banks as Betty Brant, knowing what she's gone on to do in her career, is an interesting thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I think we're gonna move on to closing thoughts now, and I'll go first this week. So talking about this movie, I really enjoy this movie every time I watch it, and as I said earlier, I can't really decide which one is my favorite, whether it be this or the first one. It really kind of depends on my mood, or I mean, a lot of times it'll depend on which one I watched more recently. So for the moment, the second one would probably be my favorite, but who knows how long that would stay like that. As I'm sure you guys have heard, there are several things I'm not crazy about with this movie, but I really like the oh my god, I can't talk. The character progressions through this movie as compared to like what we said the way they were in the first film, the really flat-faced quote unquote high school students. Now with them being in college, they're allowed to be more adult-like and kind of blossom into their own people, I guess is a good way to say it. Um, I loved Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. As I said, I did not like the turn they took with him at the end and the way his fate kind of unfolded. But overall, I think this is a really good movie. And again, I can't decide one over the other, so I'm gonna give it the same. I'm gonna have to give it the same rating I did as the first, which is a 7 out of 10. And I again would highly recommend this to anybody who hasn't seen it, or to anybody who has. Give it a rewatch. It still holds up. It's still a really fun movie, and like Juan said, it could go down as one of the better superhero movies of all time.
For sure. I definitely agree. This is definitely when it comes to sequels, it's definitely up there as the one of the better sequels. I enjoy Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker a lot more in this movie as opposed to the first one.
So much more.
My thoughts on Mary Jane are pretty much the same. Carry over from the first one. I just don't think she was the right choice at all for the character.
Yeah.
James Franco, acting wise, was okay. Just direction of the character, I just thought they could have done better. Jay Jonah, obviously,
no notes.
Killed it. Aunt May, she killed it for the little bit of screen time she had in there. The fight scenes were great. Action scenes were great. It's a very definition of a summer blockbuster movie, especially a superhero movie. Because of my bias of Spider-Man, I'll give it a 7.5.
Okay.
I think the movie still holds up. CGI still holds up, even though a lot of the humor is even more cringy now than it was back then. Other than that, I think this is just a rather enjoyable movie that I will still recommend today.
Yeah, I would definitely put this ahead of quite a few of the MCU movies. I mean,
and if you grew up and you only seen the Tom Holland versions, or just even the
Andrew Garfield
and Tom Holland versions, and you've never seen Tobey Maguire's, I would highly recommend visiting these movies because they have something that those movies don't. When it comes to the Spider-Man things, like all the movies show things of Spider-Man, but don't. And the Raimi versions definitely show a side of Spider-Man that I rather enjoy, especially with his powers. I just enjoy it overall.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. It is a really good movie, and as we both kind of said, it really holds up. And yeah, give it a watch. It's a lot of fun, especially if you can just kind of. I mean, And if you guys don't watch it with a critical eye like we did, just kind of turn your brain off and just let it be a comic book movie like it's supposed to be. It's a lot of fun. But like I said, we base everything nowadays. People put it up against, like I said, the MCU and things like that. This movie is better than, I would say, quite a few of the MCU movies. But in my own personal opinion, I'm not going to say it's better one way or the other overall. But in my personal opinion, I would rather watch this than quite a few of those MCU movies.
Yeah.
You disagree with that, or would you maybe just put it over a handful?
But there's so many MCU movies, right? You know, some of them are going to be pretty bad, but you know, yeah, this movie definitely is better made than quite a few MCU movies, to be honest.
Yeah.
But you know, those movies have pros and cons too. So.
Oh, for sure, everything does. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of Geeked Out. And as always, I'd invite you guys to follow us on our socials, which will be posted in the description of this episode. And don't forget, if you like what you hear, subscribe to us, rate and review. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music. I believe we're on Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and we're also on YouTube now as well. We've got a YouTube channel set up. So give us a rate and review. We'd really appreciate it. And we will be back next week when we finish off the Sam Raimi trilogy as we discuss Spider-Man 3. I'm not looking forward to that, but I will explain why that next week. But until next time, thanks for listening, everybody. Take it easy.
Peace.